my first grad shoot that I did ever, it went viral across social media. I wasn't taking photos of people at first. I just took photos of whatever was there.
We think that we need to have this like grand plan, this like 5-year, 90-day check-in. Do what you can with what you have and just get started.
I remember before graduating, I was studying for my LSAT and I was super depressed. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I knew I didn't want to do this.
All right, we are back with Black Speakers Network Profiles of Success. And listen, y'all, this is a great way to kick off the series because listen, when I tell you I've been chasing this woman down for this interview, I am so excited that we have Samantha Dorica here. She is a journalist, a multi-hyphenate photographer, and I really just want to talk about the career journey. So Samantha, thank you so much for joining us and thank you for being part of episode 1, helping us kind of kick off this series.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I loved your energy. You know, we had a great like pre-intro. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and love what this platform stands for.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you represent, I love the work that you do with Afrotech. We're going to dive into all of it and some behind the scenes stuff. But before we jump off, I know that you, as you mentioned, we had a conversation and you wake up really early in the morning. So can you give folks an idea of just how early you wake up and why you get up so early and what does that beginning of the day look like for you?
Yeah, literally, I always joke around. By the time like most people wake up, I've literally probably accomplished half of what like people would have done by the time they wake up. I'm definitely like an early bird naturally. The default of that is I'm not a night person. So that's the other aspect to it. But yeah, I wake up early. I just get a lot done. Like I said, that's what my body naturally does anyway. I can be a little bit more intentional. I also have like a great relationship with God of dedicating more of that time to like prayer and all that. But I do get a lot of work done during that time. And my creative juices are just flowing during that time. I get a lot of ideas going, pitches, and like I get a lot of my features that I'll do. I do them like really early too, or start them off. So that's kind of been my process for the last 4 years, but I've always been a morning person. So yeah, I love it.
Mm-hmm. That's so amazing because I am the opposite. Like I was the person, like my mother used to have to almost drag me out of bed to get ready for school. But I'm also wouldn't call myself a night person either. I think I'm like a mid-afternoon person, like 11 to 2 is when I'm like where I come alive. So you just wake up with like energy and creativity. And I love what you said. You feel like because I have heard people describe the fact that waking up early, it kind of gives you like a psychological advantage, almost like an edge. Do you feel that way? Like you can kind of get stuff done before the rest of the world wakes up?
100%. And like I know as it relates to my like work day, that kind of keeps me feeling like I'm at a good pace and not behind because I just have a certain mindset that I go into work. So that it just also helps me stay steady in the workday and like knocking out some like key tasks that I need to from Asana. So it helps me waking up early and like getting an early start to my day. And I've been doing that since I got here. So for the last 4 years, but even before that, I've always woken up early. I don't think that'll ever change.
Nice, nice. And speaking of journalism, I do want to go into that a little bit. And congratulations on 4 years. I know those years probably are just like rolling by. What do you wish people understood more about what it takes to be a journalist or the day in the life of a journalist as you think through the things that you've accomplished throughout the day? Obviously, you're researching stories, you're writing. We talked about how many keyboards you go through each quarter, but like, what do you wish people understood more about the profession of journalism?
It requires like community building and engaging with your community. I know I'm like really big on preaching like journalists to be like accessible to the communities that you're serving through your storytelling or just in general. It's not just, especially like I work remotely, right? So I don't have the benefits of like always being able to be on the ground and seeing what's happening in real time. But community building has definitely been my superpower, and I've been able to learn a lot more about people, learn a lot more about what they're building. Through community building, and I've definitely leveraged LinkedIn and other social media platforms to like engage and have connection calls with people. I'm doing that like every single year, and connecting with people and learning more and more about things that like I probably wouldn't see if I wasn't putting the effort in. So that's one thing I always tell people. I do think community building is a huge part about journalism, and connecting with communities and seeing what's happening, like what's wrong in the world or what people are up to, what people are innovating, etc. That would probably be that's kind of like the main messaging that I've been really circulating, and probably the other side of that too. I would say telling your story. I also find I learn about people and I learn a lot of things that are out there by people also being vocal and sharing what they're building. So I know in my conversations, people to always encourage them to be vocal about the things that they're doing, because that could also lead to like storytelling opportunities as well, for us journalists. So it's definitely like twofold for me.
Oh, I love that. In the community building piece, I didn't think about that, but I've actually seen this in action from you. I mean, you and I have done connection calls. I see you engaging with folks, and LinkedIn and some of the tools that we have right now, I feel like makes that a lot easier. I'm sure, years ago, folks had to have like a physical Rolodex and a black book and all these things. But now we have all these tools to manage like a high volume network. And as a journalist, I mean, I'm getting to my next question, which is you've written now over 3,000 stories. And I actually wrote down some of these areas of impact. So we got STEM, AI, med tech, energy and sustainability, small business. I mean, the list goes on. Sports, I think the business of sports is even in there. And so you write across a broad spectrum of topics, which I'm sure put you in touch with a broad spectrum of people, and keeping touch with those people, and being organized and deliberate about building a community. I could see that being a very valuable skill set. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It's definitely a valuable asset that I do have. And I know like Thursdays I typically dedicate to my connection calls. I typically will do my interviews like Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursdays for my connection calls. If I get super overwhelmed, I might have to like reschedule some of those connection calls. But yeah, I've definitely been doing that. And I let everyone know my work goes beyond like a story. So like I do genuinely like to connect with people, regardless of whether we cover or not. Even if we do cover, I always let people know, please send updates, flag things my way. I'm always literally, you can always hop on my calendar. So accessibility and yeah, community building has been, like I said, that's really been my superpower in journalism for sure. So, and I'm really grateful for anyone who I've been able to connect with, including you. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. Somebody drive gratitude in the comments, because I'm happy to be here too. One thing I'm curious about is going across at writing about so many different stories. I'm sure in quick succession, I see how many pieces of content that you both put out, and then just following you on LinkedIn, I see how often you're putting out content. What's your approach to that in terms of do you have to do like a reset? So if you're writing an article on STEM, or I'm assuming maybe you have multiple articles in different phases of, production at different times, like, do you have any like a ritual or ways to like ensure that you're in the right headspace to write specific piece of content at specific times?
That's a really good question. Like I said, one, waking up early puts me in that headspace whenever, because once I get into the workday, I'm pitching my those news pieces, right? Once I hit the workday, and then I like to ideally get a feature going or started at least 2 to 3 hours before doing that. So that puts me in the headspace, and then of course, there's like certain practices that I do. So I would say I'm a feature first writer personally. Like I write more features than news pieces, I would say, through my work at Afrotech. So that also means I'm watching interviews like videos, right? I'm literally always kind of hearing things, trying to pick up things that are also related to the things that we write about at Afrotech. So finding key sound bites, key bits of information, right? Like I could watch an interview that's like 3 hours long, and just to find like 5, 6 minutes that kind of shed light into, oh, this is something I should be paying attention to. Like this is something that'll be important to amplify and Afrotech to our audience and things of that nature. So I'm definitely watching video clips. Also when I'm doing like when I'm writing interviews, especially if I'm not speaking to the person directly, if I can speak to them directly, which is why I love LinkedIn, I can be like, hey, I'm working on the story, would love a statement from you about this or that. But if not, I'm pulling from as much as I can, whether it's their website, reading about looking at their apps, reading about their apps, like I said, seeing what other interviews they've done with former outlets or on their own platform. There's like a lot of due diligence going around. And obviously, if I can find data, like any stats that can kind of add for their credibility or like logistics to like, empower the story, I'll do that too. So it's definitely like a lot of moving parts, but It's not overwhelming. It makes sense in my head. It might be hard to articulate, but it makes sense in my head. But it is a lot of different moving parts happening simultaneously, for sure.
Yeah, it to me feels like very much project management, but just using words. And you mentioned Afrotech, which I know some people may have experienced Afrotech live. For the uninitiated, the people that maybe have not been to an Afrotech conference, could you just talk a little bit about what that experience is like? I've heard nothing but great things just in terms of like community that it brings together, and of course, I feel like ironically, as technology is getting as we're getting more AI capability, we're getting more of these digital spaces. I really feel like these in-person connections opportunities are more important than ever. But from your perspective, what is attending an Afrotech conference like?
So I've attended twice. So the first time was in 2023, and then when it was in Austin, and then the second time was literally this previous Afrotech, which was in Houston. So that was my first time covering in Houston specifically. So both experiences were really great. So I can speak from observations and then from my personal experience, just from like observing across the board. And I try to give myself, like this year, I gave myself one day where I wasn't working. I was really just able to be present and like on the ground and like just feeling energy. Granted, the day that I was there doing that, it was primarily students there. But it's amazing. And when I'm at Afrotech, I'm talking to people and trying to see how they're feeling and, their experiences, and heard really good feedback across the board from people. People were really connecting with people. It's really easy to connect with people, regardless of their title. It's just everyone's shoulders are down, and it's really easy to like network and have conversations. Beyond the panels, obviously they have a lot of mixers. There's a lot of events going on outside of the conference. Just endless opportunities to connect with people of all calibers. So it's really beautiful for that. Obviously, a lot of people feel very seen in the Black community, having a space where so many Black professionals are gathering. For some people, that's not normal for them in like their day to day. So it's like really refreshing for them, really empowering. So that's obviously really beautiful, and it's great insights. I feel like, I mean, especially this year, I thought it was just so great. The conversations, like the different panels that they had, I thought they did really good. I know MedTech has been really exciting this year. On Friday, I believe they had like it was more for the creators, like Creator Day. So been loving that, them kind of leveraging or implementing like more stuff on the MedTech side, and like I said, the creator space. So it's a great place to be. I always recommend people to be at Afrotech if they can. And even if for some reason they can't, whether it's like maybe a financial barrier, just being around the area during that time, I recommend, because there's still a lot of events that they might not be affiliated to Afrotech, but they're still kind of happening around. So it's still great networking. And I don't even want to call it networking, like community building. Like literally, Afrotech is great for community building. And then from a personal experience as a journalist, this year, so when I went in 2023, that was year 2 at Afrotech, and now I'm at year 4. And honestly, the experiences from year 2 and year 4 from a personal experience were different. I will admit, year 2, I feel like I definitely was really focused on like, let me make sure I'm like amplifying like the conversations from these panels, from like all these people here. And I wasn't really connecting with people outside of that. I was really just focused on like my obligations, but it was still great, but I was definitely fully in work mode. This year, I was still fully in work mode, but I think I was able to meet so many people that I have covered or spoken to in person, and just taking more time to like talk like hi, like, and that it was really surreal when you're writing about so many of these like innovators, um and like seeing them in person, being able to give them their flowers in person, or like just acknowledge them in person. It truly made my heart so full. So I was on cloud 9 all week. I was so proud of so many people. And I was really proud of the coverage I pumped out. I feel like this year's, in terms of my personal output, it was a little bit, it was a good challenge and it was a good stretch, because if I'm remembering correctly, I don't remember turning around interviews in real time in 2023, but I did that this year on top of the coverage. I believe we pumped out like at
Very
least,
impressive, by the way. Very impressive.
yeah, God is good. Literally, God, I know we pumped out at least, I believe it was 63 pieces, if I remember the number correctly. So I'm just grateful for like, yeah, more opportunities to like tell these stories that need to be told and share these insights. So it was truly great. I love Afrotech. Yeah.
I know sometimes with conference, the first conference experience for anybody could be like overwhelming. It's almost like drinking water from a fire hose because there's all these sessions, almost like if you don't have a strategy going in, and obviously you work there, so you got the inside scoop of what's happening, but it could be really challenging. But then even I think it's great to talk about this because even on the other side, coming back for the second year, or your second year, you're able to be a little bit more relaxed, strategic, and get more out of it. I'm sure your third year and your fourth year, that's just going to be continuing to level up your ability to optimize value out of that. So and the fact that you can do real time, I'm sure like a laptop sitting up like that, the turnaround to be able to do that and to be able to make those connections, which by the way, I do think we should retire to at your um, the way you're describing community building. I think we should retire networking and replace it with community building overall, because I think that's a much more appropriate term. But the fact that you got all that done in such a short period of time, and that's just incredible. So I commend you for that. As a person that has been to multiple conferences, have worked them, career fairs, being on stage, panelists, MCs, it gets crazy. So I love that. I do want to switch over to, so you have this multi-hyphenate um, areas of impact. And so we've talked about you as a journalist, but you're also a photographer. And from the images I've seen, a really good photographer. So please tell us, like, where did the love, where did your love for photography first begin? Is this something that goes back to childhood, or is this like a new passion?
So I would say I've always liked taking photos. Like my friends from high school know, like with the whatever iPhone was we had around back then when I was in high school. I graduated in 2015. I would do like random photo shoots on my phone of my friends. So I just like taking photos, but definitely wasn't anything that I thought could be like a quote unquote a career or like something I'd be turning into a business back then for sure. Definitely not. And even back then, I didn't even realize I was going to become a journalist, right? Like I had very different things that I just thought I was supposed to be doing. And then I transferred into UT in 2017, UT Austin. And then the transfer experience, in my opinion, was rough for me. It was really hard to like make friends, and the friends that I did make, most of them were freshmen because of how they I don't know how you get integrated into UT as a transfer. It's just really interesting. So I just really was
I
I
also had a crazy transfer experience at my HBCU. So though we're like, yeah.
hard. It's so hard.
Not bad, just I think the world isn't really set up to, like, when you're going from one school to another, it's not really, it just doesn't always shake out.
Yeah, it's hard. And obviously people have already made their friends and things of that nature. So I personally isolated myself beyond like the friends that I did have that I made, but like most of them, like I said, were freshmen. So I was not happy at all. I'm really careful with using the term like depression. I don't have depression, but I definitely, I would like to say I definitely had a moment of feeling depressed or at least a deep state of sadness. And it wasn't until because I thought I was going to be a lawyer. So the summer before graduating, I was studying for my LSAT and I was super depressed. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like I knew I didn't want to do this. So I told my parents and I cried. I was really emotional. And I just bought a camera with my college refund money. I obviously did not have a lot of money back in college. So I used my college refund money to go to Best Buy and I bought a Canon T6 Rebel, T6i Rebel, or it's either T6i Rebel or T6 Rebel. Yeah. And I literally just started taking photos. I would walk around, take photos of the building, literally of the sidewalk. Because at that time, because I was not extroverted, I wasn't talking to people, I wasn't taking photos of people at first. I just took photos of whatever was there. And then I tried out for the Daily Texan, the newspaper, for their photography position. I was not qualified. I did not know what I was doing. So there was an editor named Juan at the Daily Texan. I believe that was his name. Um, and I feel like he's never told me this. I never like circle back, but I think the determination I showed, I feel like that's what ended up allowing me to be one of the photographers there because I was not qualified. So I was at the Daily Texan. I took probably 1,001 bad photos before I took one decent photo. I was not the best photographer there, but I remember there was a point where I won like best photo of the week like 2 or 3 times. So that was like really
Do you,
nice. So I was starting
do you
to
remember
find.
what the photos were?
Yes, one of them, it was a woman. I took a photo of her in the back of like it was like a she had flowers. It was like on the back of like a trunk. Um, I remember that, and I think how I composed the photo was like really nice. So I do remember that one. The other one I don't remember honestly. Um, and then a group of girls in 2020, they were graduating, and they asked me, "Hey, can you take our grad photos?" It might have been somebody. I don't remember. It could have been Bai or someone else, but um, mind you, when it comes to grad photographies, weddings, like anything you can do once as a photographer, that's a lot of pressure because you have one time to get it right. So was not qualified, but I said yes. And back then, I did not know what I was doing. I was charging $140. I was editing every single photo. And then my first grad shoot that I did ever, it went viral across social media. Like it probably got millions of hits. I'm not kidding. I didn't even know at the time because I was so depressed because taking those grad photos was the hardest thing I've ever done because I didn't know what I was doing. I literally had deleted social media off my phone. So I learned about it after and like re-downloaded my phone. And yes, it was going viral. It was insane. And people kept referencing that shoot. So I've been booked for grad photos for the last 4 years, and then it turned into a business.
Wow.
Yeah, I started making a certain amount of money towards like, oh, I need to report this to the government. So then it became a business. And yeah, a lot of my photos are also like they exude Black excellence. Most of them are Black women graduates at UT Austin. And I've been doing that ever since as well. So yeah, and I also love editorial. I dabble into that as well if anyone looks at my website. But yeah, I love photography.
Now I'm ignorant to what's the difference between editorial. What is editorial photography?
I feel like editorial, it would be like the things that you would see in like a magazine. They're not like if you're doing a grad photo, you can have an editorialized grad shoot, but it's like I wish I honestly there's like a photo that comes to mind that I took. Her name was Kennedy. She was wearing like a beautiful like white dress. Like that would be a great example of editorial. But yeah, it's basically something you would kind of see more on the magazine side, I would say.
I'm thinking cover of Vogue, like in style, like one
Yeah.
of those, like a
Yeah.
shoot. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
That's kind of the vibe. So, and that was kind of like I still would consider that like a lane I would love to go into if it makes sense, but we'll see where God takes me, honestly.
No, I love that. So you really started kind of just figuring it out. And the thing I love about that is sometimes we think that we need to have this like grand plan, this like 5 year, 90-day check-in, thing. And oftentimes it's, hey, get started with what you have, uh, do what you can with what you have and just get started. And the guy, I believe you said Juan,
Mhm.
took a chance on you, and it paid off because not only did you elevate the visibility of that brand, but you also gain more skills. And sometimes what I'm hearing you say is saying yes to opportunities that you technically, on paper, it may seem like, oh, I'm not qualified for this. But in reality, you purchased the camera to take pictures. And so the medium, or the subject, I guess, don't get me on the terms, but the subject may change a little bit. But the medium is, no, I'm going to develop these skills. And just hearing you go through the different mental gymnastics, because again, we don't often talk about the mental health side or the other components of just putting your work out to the world for people to see. And of course, when you put your work out, it doesn't always invite praise. It can invite criticism as well. And not everybody's set up to handle that. So I think the fact that you just went out and started doing it could be a valuable lesson for a lot of people.
Yeah, literally. And it is really interesting to kind of reflect and think about like a lot of the things within the last 4 years. Yeah, it did. I wasn't qualified at the start by any means. But yeah, and sometimes you're just not going to be ready. But I mean, God knows the intent was there. We hear that phrase like God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call. And that was definitely my testimony in each realms. But I work so hard and I'm never feel like I've arrived, right? I'm always trying to be better, whether it's like as a photographer or as a journalist. I'm always in a state of like learning and trying to be better and more informed as well. And that's just never going to stop too. But yeah, I'm really grateful. And I do hope people are inspired to know that like, yeah, you won't know it all maybe, but maybe still apply, because again, God can still open doors, even knowing that, right? And then once you get the opportunity, I always tell people to steward it well, which is why I do work so hard. I never get complacent. And that's why I've been waking up right like 3, 4 in the morning for the last 4 years. I don't have to do that, but I do believe in like stewarding the things well that God has allowed me, presented me the opportunity to have. So I just want to take really good care of that, and just know when my time is up, I know like, okay, I did like the best that I could with what I had. So that's definitely my mindset.
Love it. What a great mindset to have too. I feel like we have so much in common because you mentioned the introvert thing. We're both transfer students, and in addition to that, when it comes to blending some of these worlds, have you ever heard of people describe the brain as like right brain, left brain? So like right brain's more creative, left brain's more logical.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like traditionally when we think of like creative pursuits, so like art, photography, filmmaking, that's on the right side of the brain. And then we think about like writing and sometimes like more technical things, it's on the left hand side. But you seem like for anybody that's taking like a intro to photography class, like right now I'm learning, I'm trying to get my uh drone pilot license. So I gotta, I'm playing around with that for the first time. So it's like creative on the video side, but there is a technical, like left brain logical aspect to it. And you mentioned like the editing photos, for example, and some of the tools and technology that we have to use. And so what do you feel like the balance shakes out there for you? Like, do you feel like on a typical week you spend more time on the right brain creative side, or the left brain logical, let me figure out like how the, make everything work side?
That is another good question, because that is so true. Because literally, I do feel like when I'm writing and photography are like two different sides of my brain. I will say that much. That changes. For example, like my peak season of photography is spring, because that's when a lot of people graduate, right? So I do enter in a very different framework around the springtime, because I'm getting the most amount of clients that I do throughout the year. Fall is slower for me, for sure. So Monday through Friday, primarily, I do dedicate towards my time at Afrotech. So I typically try to position my photo shoots for the weekend. There was a time at Afrotech when I did attempt to do both at once at full capacity. I learned my lesson. And honestly, like, photography is my business. Afrotech is, I mean, it's definitely purpose work. I don't look at Afrotech as a job, but it also is my job. Like, I can't be like naive to that. It is a job, which I have to also, I have obligations to like, my editor and like the outlet. So that kind of does have to take priority. So I no longer do photography at full force Monday through Friday. It just doesn't work for me. It's a lot, because I have to prioritize whatever's happening editorially and make sure I fulfill those obligations. So yeah, that's on the weekends. So I still sometimes will write on the weekends, but when I have shoots to do, I will dedicate my time to editing, fulfilling those photo shoots, etc. I'll do my consultations for my photography clients throughout the week. I'll do that. And then if I do a photo shoot during the week, which I did 2 weeks ago, I actually had a shoot on Wednesday. And I had a shoot on Thursday. I was off Wednesday and I did that photo shoot because it was at a time, I think I did a half day actually. And then the following day I had a shoot in Austin. I'm based in Houston. So these are shoots that are 2 hours away. So I did that back-to-back days. And on Thursday I did work at Afrotech. I kept my brain there from like 8 to 4. And then I switched to photo mode and did that shoot at 8:30 p.m. and then turned those photos. I think I turned in like 300 something edits for their event, and I had that done by Saturday. So it's a balance, but I think
Knocking it out.
yeah, I figured out that balance for myself, and that usually if that means slowing down on photography, I will do that. Photography's it's a business, but I'm not doing photography for the business. It's generally fun for me. It's a creative outlet, and I think I will always want it to be that way. I will never want it to feel like I'm working. That just won't be, that's not what I'm doing it for. It is a creative outlet for me. I just happen to get money from it and I get to make other people happy too. So yeah.
Love it. And I know we only have a few minutes left, but while I have you, I feel like I would be remiss if we didn't talk about uh you were recently recognized as a Black Tech Saturday 2025 PTS Future 100 Award recipient. And I believe this is one of your first awards in that category. So what does this recognition mean? First of all, shout out to Black Tech Saturday, because I've been to a few Black Tech Saturday events. They had one here in the DC National Capital area not too long ago. Got a chance to meet the founders, also in Baltimore as well. So they are incredible. But so first of all, congratulations on that. But tell us a little bit about what this recognition means to you.
It is like I'm still processing it. Like I found out last Tuesday and I'm still processing it. And yes, this is my first award in media. And again, like this room that I'm in, this is primarily where I work on a day-to-day. And like I said, I work here whether the sun's up or it's down. And I'm not doing it for accolades. I have been very affirmed through my time at Afrotech, right? Like people have showered me with so much affirmation throughout my career, which I'm so grateful for. And I've always felt supported here and even before here. But it felt really full circle because I also got this award during a quiet season for me. Like I was intentionally slowing down. I wasn't going to as many events. I was also resting post, Afrotech conference as well. So to get that during that season too, that I was like slowing down. So it actually gives me time to process it more. It's very surreal. I'm very passionate again about the work that I do, amplifying, people in our community across technology and in various aspects of business. Like I have so much fire for that. So that award is just a reflection of that passion. So it felt really good to be seen. Obviously, like I'm amplifying a lot of people on a day to day. So to like get that recognition, which I wasn't expecting or looking for, it was very surreal. But I also know how hard I work and will continue to work. And I do feel like I'm very well deserving. Like I said, I do feel like I've stewarded the things that God has allowed me to do very well. So I'm very, very, very grateful to be recognized and to be seen. It was literally one of the highlights of my year. I'm very, very grateful. So yeah.
Yeah, I think as we have communities like a Black Tech Saturdays, we should be amplifying, elevating, recognizing, and making sure that folks know what excellence looks like. And because oftentimes when you're sitting in a room writing on your computer, we can't see that, and I know they put this under the category, which I really love, because it says creatives and storyteller category. A lot of times storytellers, unless you're in front of the camera, you don't always, even, if your name is on the, is it a byline? Is that the right thing?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If your name is there, people don't always have the name or the voice or the person connected to it as deeply. And so I love the fact that you're getting those flowers. And I suspect it will be one of many. So I don't know if you have like an awards like shelf or something, but I see you got some space back there. So get ready. Listen, before we head out, I know Black Speakers Network, and again, I just want to thank you. I really, really think that this was a valuable conversation. One of the reasons I wanted to grab you, and thank you again for helping us kind of kick off Profiles of Success, because across Black Speakers Network right now, we're people listening to you. We have authors, speakers, coaches, event planners, but also college students, people that are just on the beginning of their career. And so as a final piece of advice, is there anything that you haven't said yet that as people are looking to maybe get into the journalism, cannot talk, and get into journalism or get into photography, or maybe they themselves, whatever career trajectory they're on, are just trying to figure out how to be a multi-hyphenate and make it work, how you figured out how to make these things work? Do you have any final piece of advice or words of wisdom for folks that are on that journey?
So my advice will be twofold. The first thing that I have to mention is, as it relates on the journalism side, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how I I had done 2 internships, both unpaid. I believe for one of the unpaid ones, technically we could get paid for like articles that we wrote. It wasn't much, but it was something. But it was still overall like an unpaid internship. But I know I did want a footing into the industry. I didn't know how I was going to go about it. And to this day, I'm not somebody who's like applied to like a bunch of jobs at once. I've never done that. And also that just feels very exhausting for my mental. So I haven't done that. And I wasn't doing that either back then. But I did a fast, not for a job, but I had a lot of things going on that I just needed to shed dead weight. Like I didn't even wear makeup. I literally didn't have fake hair. Like I was all natural. I didn't leave my room for 48 hours. I didn't eat. I only left my room for water. And again, I wasn't fasting just for a job. There was a lot going on. So I just spent that time to be still with God, have no noise from the outside world. And that rest wasn't just like literally physically reading my Bible. There were aspects of that in praying. It was also literally resting too with God. And I broke that fast after 48 hours. And like a week after that, I went on X, formerly Twitter, and that's when my editor Micah Davis did a call out for like, hey, we're looking for a new writer at Afrotech, and a bunch of people were replying to that inquiry. Like I said, in my personal opinion, as somebody who had 2 unpaid internships, I didn't feel like I was the most qualified, but I still sent what I had. And then I think a week or two, I don't remember the timelines, but not too long after is when I got the offer from Afrotech. And I feel like that came a week, like that process started a week after I broke my fast. So I'll always tell people, God, like literally that walk with God, like God is my foundation. And I really don't feel like if I didn't do that fast, I don't think I would have been here today and like an award-winning journalist. No. So I will tell people first, make sure you center God in that. And then secondly, as it relates to journalism and photography, I didn't always do this. Photography is my business, so like there's definitely owner like I own my business. So yes, there's ownership there. Journalism, I would say I didn't come into journalism knowing I was going to be, laser focusing a lot on tech and business. I love it so much and I'm so glad I found it. So show yourself grace if you maybe don't have an idea of maybe what your beat could look like, because you can definitely still learn. I've learned so much being at Afrotech. I've learned about so many incredible people that prior to Afrotech I wasn't fully aware of. So it's okay to have a learning curve. Show yourself grace there too. If you find as it relates to the journalism side, if you find an outlet home, I do encourage people. We are seeing a lot of journalists pivoting into having their own platforms like Substacks. Again, they're using TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Yes, I do encourage that. I don't fully do that yet. I just feel like my plate is just really full. It is something I'm keeping in mind. And it's not to replace Afrotech. I'm just like, let me amplify more. There's more work to be done even beyond Afrotech. So that's where I would be operating from my plan stuff is expanding and creating more opportunity for others. But yes, have your own platforms too, right? Don't just bank on this one place because things can change, outlets can shut down, whatever. You should definitely try to create your own avenues if you can. And then photography, I'm speaking from people like I said, I don't have a 6-figure photography business, but I do make money from it. So my advice might be different from somebody who's looking at it from a place of profit. But I'm purpose first, and I believe the rest will follow, and God can make provisions. But don't forget why you did it. Like just always remember your why. And if it's a creative outlet for you, if it's fun, like try to keep that spark going. It can sometimes be overwhelming when you're just doing client, 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 and you forget like why you even picked up a camera to begin with. So yeah, just always remain rooted on your why as it relates to photography and in the media space too. So, and if anyone ever needs any more advice, I'm very accessible. You can message me on LinkedIn, email. I try to respond to every single inquiry. So I'm always here to break down anything else. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to drop your LinkedIn information below for make sure y'all connect with Samantha if you need her. Listen, I cannot think of anybody better to help us kick off our profiles of success. Thank you so much, Samantha. Listen, we got to bring you back for part 2 at some point because I know your 2026 is about to be crazy. So I have to get some more awards, some more. Again, you say you don't do it for the accolades, of course, but it's just really amazing to see how from the seat where you sit, both behind the lens and behind the keyboard, you're continuing to make an impact. You're stretching beyond your comfort zone, and it shows. So keep up the great work. And then obviously, as we say here in Black Speakers Network, keep speaking up because your audience awaits. And I suspect I'll be seeing you on more stages as well. On the speaking
Yes,
side.
and thank you for this opportunity. Like my heart is so full. No better place I'd rather be for a Saturday morning. I'm not kidding. So super grateful. And yeah, like hopefully we can do like a part 2 in the future. And proud of you and what you're building here. So yeah, I'm really grateful. Thank you again.
Absolutely. I'll see a series, y'all. Let us know. Drop us in the comments. Which
Let us know.
any
Let us
questions?
know. Let us know.
Yeah, if you got questions for Samantha I didn't get to you, please let us know in the comments. But otherwise, y'all stay safe and we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.